Hey, everybody, and welcome to the GnWC prediction show for Survivor Series 2015. As always, I am the Duke, and
My name is Guybrush Threepwood. Prepare to die.
I think it's,
Or Angry Larry.
I think it's
Yeah,
I'm
Angry Larry's fun.
Guybrush Threepwood, Mighty Pirate. I think that's what you were supposed to say. Anyway,
And I want to be a pirate. Duke, what's going on, man? How you doing?
oh, I'm doing great, man. It's been a long time since we've been together on this, but it seems like we're
Yes.
getting back rolling. We've gotten our tech issues solved, and hopefully, and moving forward from here. So let's just roll right into it. We're gonna go with what's been announced, and when we say what's been announced, not just the matches themselves, but who is actually in them, and then we'll move on to some other fun stuff. So let's just jump right into the tournament matches. So we've got our semifinals with Reigns and Del Rio, and then Ambrose and Owens. So Larry, why don't you kick it off with what you think's happening with Reigns and Del Rio?
Right. And I'll preface this by saying we are recording this on Tuesday night. SmackDown has already been recorded, but we have not seen it yet because we watch it when it airs live on Thursday.
True.
So there may be some discrepancies between the matches we're talking about and the matches that actually happened. So we apologize in advance for that. But with that said, I think that this tournament's going to be very vanilla, Duke. Very like what's expected. You don't even have to be a smart Mark fan to know that or anticipate that Reigns is going to beat Del Rio and Ambrose is going to beat Owens. And the only reason why they're fighting Owens and Del Rio in the finals is to kind of just like protect those championships that they hold, the U.S. title and the Intercontinental title. I think this is going to be very straightforward and very exciting for the fan because they've been kind of on this edge of their seat where it's like, when are they going to turn on each other? When is Ambrose going to turn on Reigns, or prior to that, when is Reigns going to turn on Ambrose?
Yep.
And I think this finally adds that dynamic, and that which makes this tournament vanilla also makes this finals match between Ambrose and Reigns very exciting. What do you think?
I'm right with you, and I this isn't really a bold prediction. This is just something I noticed. I believe people are like, is it going to be Ambrose? Is it going to be Reigns, or is it just going to be a double babyface match that we've seen a lot? And I think there actually will be a heel turn, and I think it will actually be Ambrose. And I'm using and this is sort of I guess, I don't know. I don't want to call myself a smart mark, but because I'm more casual than that. But something I noticed with Triple H's comments, like they did the WWE.com exclusive. I don't think they know what that word means because it's on YouTube too. Video with Michael Cole and Triple H, and Triple H in his comments when he's talking about who's the type of person that's going to win this after he just kind of berated Reigns over and over and over again for turning him down on the previous Raw. The words he used, and they just seemed so like he's either trying to foreshadow everything, sort of point to the fence, call the shot, or he's it was a very very strong misdirect. But the words he used about what guy is going to win were chaos. It's created an unstable environment, and it's going to be a guy that's crazy enough to take that opportunity and willing to do absolutely anything. In that interview, he mentioned every single person left in the tournament at that time except Ambrose. Every other name was mentioned. He never even alluded to
Right.
Andros, yes, Andros. So
Andrews.
so this is
Felicity Jones Andrews.
this is the no, this is our game connection. Apparently, a character from Star Fox will be joining the lineup of this pay per view. Anyway, but
Yeah.
Ambrose is the only person whose name he did not mention.
Do
He
a
mentioned
barrel roll.
everybody's. He mentioned everybody's name. He did a barrel roll.
It's almost like that
Oh,
announcer, like the announcer predictions. Who do you think's going to win this tournament? And then everyone gives a name, and then it's like, you know, Bobby Heenan's the only person that says the name right.
Yeah.
Or like JBL's the only one that gets it right every time
Yeah.
because that's what they do. But
Yeah.
all right, so you have Reigns and you have Ambrose, and you have Ambrose over Reigns in the finals.
I predict that just because it's
Okay,
either it was
because he's going to
like I
be
said,
the
either it was
authority.
foreshadowed or it was a very very hard
Okay.
swerve to use the language he used.
Yeah.
And then to ignore Ambrose and he named he even named Kalisto, and he didn't name Ambrose. So
Yeah,
so yeah.
and I'm very against uh, WWE's announced team and like web team or whatever.
Right, fair enough.
Kalisto Cinderella story. He won one match.
I know.
All right, he wasn't like
That was pretty.
the number 15 ranked Creighton going 3 rounds in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous.
That's Cinderella.
Yeah, it was a little too much. And I guess
yeah.
they're really trying to sell. He went over Ryback, which I mean,
Yeah.
from a reality standpoint, pretty crazy. That's pretty significant. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah.
I don't know who I have winning those finals. I'm gonna say Reigns wins the finals, just to be very vanilla with it.
Fair enough.
I'll get more into it when we do our bold predictions.
Okay.
But for now, let me just very generically say Reigns over Ambrose, and let me say that no heel turn.
Okay.
Is the swerve.
So just yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right, and
Yeah,
so then just the next thing on our list, not necessarily match order, because I seriously doubt they're going to do all 3 tournament matches at the very beginning of the show.
Card subject to change.
Yeah, card subject to change. We're not shooting for getting the order exactly right like we did last time for NXT, but Charlotte versus Paige is what I've got next. Charlotte being the champion and Paige being the one that I called a heel turn on, who they've pushed her about as far in the heel direction as possible, although there wasn't that much build up to it. But what you got on this one?
They did. Well, based on the build up, they did a lot more in 10 minutes last night.
Yep.
Than they've tried to do in the last 3 months. I mean, it's almost been like a very backwards and segmented, out of order heel turn.
Yep.
She turned heel only to rejoin, only to properly turn heel after that.
Right.
I very much dislike the whole Reed Flair thing being brought up. Very distasteful, and it really makes me not want to comment on this match as much as I have already.
Yeah.
But adding that drama to it, I just feel like Charlotte will get the win.
Yeah. I see Charlotte going over. The Reed Flair stuff. You got to know that everybody was on the same page with that, especially when before Paige made just the just brutal comment near the end of that, the contract signing.
Yeah,
her eyes were bloodshot. Like she didn't walk in. She didn't walk in drunk or high or anything. Her eyes weren't bloodshot when she walked in, but she was fighting back every empathetic emotion she could to put that nail in the coffin. And wow, it was brutal. But
to do her job.
Huh? What's that?
To do the job they made her do.
Yeah, exactly. And it was, but again, everyone had to be on the same page with that. No pun intended.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely. Doesn't mean it had to be done though.
No, I agree. But
especially since he died young and he died of a heroin overdose. It's kind of like not the same thing as Paul Bearer passing away of old age.
Yeah, or some tragic
whatever.
Accident or something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, but I agree. Charlotte going over on this one, and we'll hop on off of it because it got really real and really personal.
Comments.
What's that?
We'll leave our personal comments if we even want to talk about this anymore. For our weekly show, which will debut later in the week once again.
Okay. All right. Cool. So next match that that's been advertised is Ziggler versus Tyler Breeze. What you got?
This is the smart mark, and I'm okay with calling myself that in the talking here. When I say that, based on the tradition of the wrestling world, I find it very hard to believe Breeze is going to debut and lose right away. As much as I find it hard to believe that Ziggler will actually win on a pay-per-view. You know, as much as they push him down, as much as they push him up, he's like that floater in the ocean, that buoy.
Yeah.
That he's just like at sea level, and he doesn't really go much up, and he doesn't really go much down anymore.
Yeah. He's sort
and
of.
I think that's what we got here. I think if this is the first match in a feud, in a 3-match series, or so to speak, I just think that Breeze is winning this one to further the, not the initial push he's getting, but to further the feud lasting a little bit longer. I think Breeze has this one.
Yeah, I think we're gonna agree on every match, honestly, because I'm with you on Breeze going over, and I'm also with you on Ziggler being like really high end enhancement talent. You know, he's like, to me, he's sort of
he
like,
serves that role. I mean,
yeah,
he
and he makes people look great. So I mean, why not put him in the ring with the new guy? So yeah, Breeze goes over. Ziggler keeps sort of jobbing out, but it seems like that's a role that he's actually accepted because he does it a lot these days. He and Cesaro. So then
he's been taking the Twitter though in more of a shoot role though, but we'll talk about that on the weekly show.
Sure, fair enough. And then we've got the last match that we actually have names for is Undertaker and Kane versus Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman. So Brothers of Destruction versus 2 members of the Wyatt family. And take it away on this one too, Larry. Go ahead.
Undertaker lost the last pay-per-view, I believe, unless I misremember that.
No,
he
you're
lost to Lesnar, right?
Yeah, he lost
Okay.
to Lesnar.
I question myself on that all the time.
And then that's the can I just need to throw back to something real quick. I know you don't want to talk about the Charlotte and Paige thing, the contract signing that much, or you know what, the whole personal stuff, but I feel like that's a recurring theme as of late, especially since Hell in a Cell, because most people thought you don't do that to Taker at the end of Hell in a Cell, but talk about getting nuclear heat. I mean, that's how they did it back in the day. You know, it was.
That's good heat, though. That's good heat. You weren't doing anything personal.
And it wasn't actually
there.
real personal. I know, but I'm just saying it's still like it's not on the same level. I'm not equating them, but it is sort of a, you know, you have one guy walk out so the other guy can get up and take cheers from the crowd, and then you just suck the life out of those cheers by doing, you know, sort of this strange thing with the Wyatt family and making them, and you got people just blowing up Twitter, Facebook, whatever, as that's so disrespectful to someone who's been in the business for 25 years, blah, 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 blah.
Well, that's why a feud works.
I know. And that, to me, that's how you do it in today's age, is you have to like really resort to like old school stuff that's a bit shocking, but still fits in the PG model. So, anyway, Undertaker.
Well, he's also doing the Undertaker what Undertaker used to do to other people,
absolutely.
And that's why it works as well.
Absolutely,
and that's a throwback of throwbacks.
That's how you become the new face of
fear.
fear.
Realize that?
Yeah, that's how you become the new.
I don't know how people realize that in the Ministry days.
Yep.
Okay, but
okay,
going
so
to the Undertaker Kane match versus the Wyatt family, it's speculated that it's going to be Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman that are going to be the 2-on-2 here. And I said that Undertaker lost the last pay-per-view.
Right.
And for the same reasons I think Ziggler's going to lose to extend the feud, I don't necessarily know if this is like a one-off match or if the Undertaker is going to be feuding with people until WrestleMania, where we all speculate he's going to retire.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure the Wyatt family don't win this match. Honestly.
I'm just going to go the other side. And this isn't like I'm picking both, but I am going to say, actually I'm not, because what I was about to say just makes me think that you're right on this. It seems that every feud, and this is sort of why a lot of his heat falls flat, but every feud that Bray Wyatt starts, he wins the first match.
Any feud anyone starts, they win the first match.
Fair enough.
If they go 3 months, then they lose the next 2.
Right.
It just seems that way. And
Yeah.
I'm saying if they're going to extend this beyond Survivor Series and into TLC and into Royal Rumble, that maybe the Wyatts go over here. And I don't know how exactly it plays out in TLC or anything, because Wyatt family has 4 members. You think they would lead up to some sort of Survivor Series match to involve all of them. And it just
That's
seems
something
like
I was
it's
about to
like the
say.
timing's just like off.
Yeah, yeah. That
But
like this seems like
um,
something that should have happened after WrestleMania, not now, and it should have
right.
just been dragged
And how
out
many
as
times
much as
has Bray
possible.
Wyatt lost a feud? Bray Wyatt
Every
has lost pretty much every feud
single
that have lasted over 2
time.
months.
Yeah. So and that's
So he's got
the
to win this
yeah,
one
yeah, yeah,
to keep him legitimate.
yeah.
And then Undertaker can get the revenge later on, Who knows?
Well, and maybe it's Brothers of Destruction versus Wyatt family a couple of times, and then finally you sort of have the Reigns Wyatt type thing with Taker, and it's just Taker and Wyatt.
I don't think that's your WrestleMania match, though. That might be your Royal
No,
Rumble match.
no. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
He already did
like
the Wyatt thing.
it maybe turns into a solo match with some sort of interesting twist on it, but you got to see if
Or is a new feud going to be spawned out of the ending of these matches like it was last month? Is somebody else going to come to the forefront and challenge The Undertaker every single time he ends a match?
Yeah, who knows?
Be
It
fun,
seems
but
like that's sort of what he wants to do, to go out, is he's setting his terms of, all right, now I want to help, I want to help this guy get over, or whatever, or,
I want to put over Lesnar because he's not over.
right.
And he's a young kid.
Well, I know, but still, it's just like, it just solidifies. Like, I still feel like that's part of a bigger story anyway. That Lesnar can disappear into the shadows and then appear at a very inopportune time for a new champion or something like that. So,
right.
So yeah, I'm gonna go. Yeah, we're agreeing on everything. It looks like every announced match. So we pick Reigns and Ambrose. That's where we were different. You picked Reigns for the final. I picked Ambrose.
I mean, I can see it going the other way. I don't really have a.
Oh, I know, but
I'm just saying Reigns to say Reigns. I'll go very vanilla with those matches.
Fair enough. And then we both picked Charlotte. Both picked Tyler Breeze, and we're both picking Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman. One thing, I'll say one last thing on this, and then we'll move on to some speculation, just pure speculation. I think this is an opportunity for Strowman to show a little more than reverse $1 million dream.
I'm the guy that gets punched.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that gets punched and lands on his feet all the time.
Yeah, exactly. The top no sale of the month always goes to Braun Strowman since he's been in WWE. But I think this may be the one where it would be nice. I'll say that it would be nice for Strowman to show a little more. I mean, he's scary, and the crazy stuff he does, from a promo standpoint, it's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I just want to see more from him in the ring, and so hopefully we'll see that in this match. And
we'll talk about this more on the weekly show. But
sure.
I think that if there's anyone in the Wyatt family that I really care to like defy the family and go after Bray Wyatt, for me it's Luke Harper, and not Strowman. But I think Strowman has to be at that level, and I agree with what you're saying. But we'll get into that in the weekly show.
Sure,
I'll write that down.
Sure. So that's all the matches that we know who's wrestling. Okay, so we'll move into some speculation and maybe roll into a couple of other topics that we want to hit, and then we'll try to bring this one down a little faster than we're accustomed to doing. So there is a 5v5 Survivor Series match that apparently is coming up. Which makes sense, on Survivor Series. And I don't really have a call for who's going to be in it. I mean, there's plenty of guys that aren't on this card because, they were eliminated in the tournament early, so I could see some of those guys coming into the mix, and so on and so forth. But it kind of sucks having no storyline to go into what is, like the namesake of the pay-per-view. but obviously the championship tournament sort of turned everything on its ear. So I can understand it from a realistic standpoint. So I'm going to let Larry sort of call out who's going to be in this match. So go ahead.
All right. Well, I've got 3 proposed Survivor Series matches for you, and I want to know your take on them because I think I put a little bit of thought into this,
Cool.
and a lot of it was just like cherry picking from the available roster.
Right.
Uh, Obviously, I'm not going to put in any NXT guys that are just going to show up and just have their match. I definitely think they have to properly graduate to just show up. And I'm never going to speculate that they're just going to be like somebody's third person or whatever going forward. But let's take a look at this. There have been 2 Survivor Series matches the last 3 years, including pre-show. The last 2 having a women's Survivor Series match. So my first Survivor Series speculated match is not a 5-on-5, but it's a 4-on-4. And it's basically cherry picking all the remaining divas on the roster and grouping them together. So we have Team Bad, Naomi, Sasha Banks, Tamina. And then you can add Cameron because of her association with Naomi.
And she's recently been on NXT as well.
Yeah, and Summer Rae because she's an odd diva out in this. Facing Becky Lynch, Natalya, and Brie Bella and Alicia Fox. Just because, like I said, we need a divas match, and these are the rest of the divas on the main roster. No Dana Brooke, no Bailey. Let's assume Emma's in NXT and not on the main roster. So that's it. And it can be an 8-minute filler match too. It could be something that could be nixed from the card. So it'd be a nice little, like, if we need it, here it is match. And if we need time, we can just yank it from the program type of match.
Mm-hmm.
The more realistic of my Survivor Series picks, Duke, to be in that 5 versus 5. So they had this 16-person tournament for the championship, right?
Right.
4 remain. That means 12 people got eliminated. If I pull out Kalisto and Titus O'Neil because they're tag team people, we're left with 5 versus 5, 10 people. But that included Ziggler and Breeze, who are now have their own match as of like 3 hours before this recording.
So maybe
I'm going to substitute for them, and I'm going to call this like the tournament.
Okay.
What's that?
I was going to say, so maybe you could keep Kalisto and Titus in, but I'll let you go.
You could keep Kalisto and yeah, you can definitely keep them in there, and that's where I edited before we started.
Gotcha.
So we can have a team of Stardust, The Miz, Wade Barrett, Sheamus. Those 4 guys were all eliminated from the tournament, and we can add Bo Dallas or the Big Show, let's say.
Ugh. Okay.
on the other side, we have Ryback, Cesaro, Ziggler. Ryback, Cesaro, Neville, and then this is where it gets a little bit forced to be a match. I put Big Show on the good guy side to balance it out. And then I have like R-Truth or Jack Swagger in a question mark.
Okay.
If we add Kalisto and Titus O'Neil, though, we have Cesaro, Ziggler, Ryback, Cesaro, Neville, Kalisto, and Titus O'Neil versus Stardust, The Miz, Barrett, Sheamus, and Big Show. And that seems like a logical 5-on-5 match.
It does. Yeah.
So
it seems very logical.
My third Survivor Series match.
I think this is going to be my favorite, by the way. So go ahead.
It's a tag team Survivor Series elimination match. You eliminate the team, not the individual. So we have the Dudleys, the primetime players, the Lucha Dragons, and the Usos versus the El Matadors, Ascension, 2 members of the New Day, and I don't know. I ran out of tag teams. So it could be 3 members of the New Day and then like Big Show, Bo Dallas, and Mark Henry, whoever's not in that other match if they do both of them. Or it could be 2 members of the New Day. What's that?
Sorry, go ahead. I'm going to throw in a couple of things.
No, I was going to say, or it could be 2 members of the New Day based on the rules I have. Like you eliminate the team, not the individual.
Right.
And then like you can just put in Big Show and Mark Henry and say they're a tag team, you know?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, there's another way you could play it. And I know you kind of nixed this at the beginning of your speculation, but you could call up a tag team from NXT that just lost their titles
Yeah, but the
I don't
bad
know
guys
if
need
they're
the
I
tag
don't know
team,
if they're good guys or bad
not the
guys.
faces.
Yeah, well, I don't know because they started as heels, didn't they? Weren't they
What
heels?
villains? No, they were always
They were always
faces.
faces.
No, they
Okay,
were
maybe
always
I'm just
faces.
remembering it wrong.
They were
So,
always crowd favorites. Let's not call them
fair,
faces,
fair enough, fair
but
enough,
it
fair
was
enough.
very quick to turn them face if they were ever heel to begin
Correct.
with.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. Um.
And I'm really reaching there saying the El Matadors are heel, by the way.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like put them on the heel side because they kind of were like floaters, but at the same time, it's just like, well, who else is there? I mean, I guess we can put Sandow and Axel together, but if they're not on TV, I really wasn't going to use them.
Yeah.
Same thing with Adam Rose or anybody else. These guys haven't been on TV that much.
Well, speaking of haven't been on TV, have the El Matadors been on anything recently?
No, but they're like a.
Oh no. I
I mean,
know.
they're
I
like
know they're
a tag
filler.
team. I needed them.
Yeah. No.
So.
No, that makes sense. What would be interesting, like just for a little bit of a twist on that idea, would be if they're not the El Matadors again. If they, come out with a new gimmick or possibly, revisit their old gimmick, that would be kind of interesting, in my opinion.
I mean, I was even trying to reach to say like, all right, who is available from like Legends, let's say.
Yeah.
But the heels needed the tag team, so I really couldn't really call on Scotty 2 Hotty and Grandmaster Sexay or anybody, So it was really hard to do that. So I had to put in Show and Henry or the Bo Show.
Yeah. And that's this.
My new tag team.
That speaks to something that we
Dallas
can, we've sort of touched on, little things that we can talk about on the weekly show, but that sort of speaks to a problem in the roster that we can talk about on the weekly show, and that's a lack of like real heels in the company anymore.
Oh yeah, I mean, it seems like we talk about that every time we.
I know, but I mean, it's like becoming ridiculously more of a problem because you keep calling these baby faces up from NXT, and Breeze.
Well,
is the
I mean,
first.
any real heels.
Well, you got Owens.
Jobbed.
You got Owens.
Ascensions are real heels, and they get jobbed out.
Yep. But still, but
so.
but like in this situation, they completely work, right? They get to be on the bad guy team. But anyway, so yeah,
but those are my matches, and the last.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, the last speculated match I have is to ignore the last or these other Survivor Series matches that I kind of just made up to have a little fun.
Yeah.
What about New Day versus the Usos, a tag team title match?
Yeah.
Like, why is that not announced?
Yeah, I know, and it seems like there's maybe been a little bit of build up. Maybe the final chapter in building that up is SmackDown, and they didn't do much with it because they weren't sure how ready Jay was until he was actually back on TV, and so they could.
I'm kind of keeping an update on latest news, and I don't see anything else announced.
Oh, okay.
And SmackDown's over because they got full spoilers up already, and I'm not looking at them.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
Or they're gonna play this feud up like this if they have a tag team Survivor Series match that's going to be on the pre-show, let's say, because that's a perfect place for it.
Have the
events
Usos
of that tag team. It's going to be
Yep.
Usos and New Day are going to be the last four left, and then or last teams left, and then it's going to be
and the Usos go over. Yep.
Usos are going to win, and then they're going to be able to have that victory over the New Day to start something the next pay-per-view. Who knows?
Yeah, could be interesting. All right, so that's our speculated matches based on the limited information we have. There will be a Survivor Series match at Survivor Series. Oh, well, that's great. Who's going to be in it? There will be a Survivor Series match at Survivor Series.
Well, there's only been two Survivor Series that have not had a traditional 5-on-5 match. And each of those Survivor Series, I think it was like 99 and 2001 or something like that. Each of those Survivor Series had tournaments.
Right.
And that's what I was afraid of this year.
Yeah.
Is because they started having that tournament, and then they started doing Survivor Series matches on Raw and SmackDown.
Right.
And I'm just like, uh-oh, maybe this is going to be another pay-per-view without a Survivor Series match.
Well, I mean, you basically, but you almost had to nix it with what happened. Yeah. So at least there's like a legitimate reason. It's not just, oh, we forgot to write that story.
Well, I mean, if they don't have a U.S. title match, and they don't have an Intercontinental title match, and they're not going to do a tag team title match, there's plenty of time for it.
Fair enough. Yeah, because it's not like a lot of these. Well, like Ziggler and Breeze, it's not like they need a lot of time. I mean,
Not like they really even needed a match this pay-per-view, but
true.
at
So
least, at least
speaking
it's
of,
probably enough time.
yeah, but speaking of sort of the holes in things and stuff like that, let's talk about what we would have done differently in the lead up, or maybe even some different matches we would have liked to see on the card by at least by now, if not sooner. Uh, what would what sort of outside the box of actual reality now for you?
There's two things I would have done. This first one, I'm going to speculate more on the weekly show, cheap plug and all that.
Sure.
But it's absolutely atrocious that when you have a Wyatt family with 4 members in it,
Oh yeah.
that this match somehow was not a Survivor Series match, even if it was 4-on-4.
Right.
You could add the 4 members of the Wyatt family fighting the Brothers of Destruction, and then you could have had Bray Wyatt do something else to 2 other people on the roster during this time to make it 4-on-4. Now,
It's too easy,
the
really.
smart mark in me will agree that maybe these plans went out the window when Rollins went down and they had to use other people for a tournament instead.
Fair enough.
So it leaves I don't know, leaves Ambrose locked into the tournament instead of being free if it was just Reigns versus Rollins. So something could have happened and Ambrose could have been on board the other team and something, but it still seems like, just to keep it simple, it's just a waste that this match is not 4-on-4.
Yeah.
So we'll expand more on this on the weekly show because a lot could be said about it, and we can talk about who else could have taken over and stuff like that. The second thing that I would have done differently.
Real quick, let me throw something in, and this will be my angle on that. Is that this would have been a good time to bring a couple of people up, and maybe not even permanently, but maybe as just guys you need.
I know what you're gonna say, and
yeah.
Just because people share the same nickname, I don't think that logically puts them in the same match. I think that, and we're talking about probably Finn Balor, right? Being a demon.
He's one, and I'm not saying you bring him up permanently,
and I know
but you just let him make you just whet people's appetite for, whoa, this is what he looks like on the main roster with main roster people.
I think how they bring people into the main roster and how they graduate works so well.
That's
that
true.
I don't want to just see them input somebody in.
That's fair.
Like, just because he's the demon doesn't mean that he should logically be with Kane. He has no history with the Wyatt family, and that's what this is about.
True.
So,
good enough.
Somewhere along the line, the Wyatt family has done things to people that it could have been had a natural enemies for,
right,
no matter who it was. But
true enough. All right, so what was your next one?
I'll put a little bit more research into that.
Sure.
We'll talk about that more on Thursday night when we record.
Okay.
I would have done no tournament, honestly. I would have done a tournament in such a way that maybe we should have had 10 matches to qualify for the traditional 5-on-5 match, where it's a 5-on-5 Survivor Series match where the survivors then how to word this properly and have people understand it is where I'm going to draw a blank here. Whoever survives in that 5-on-5 Survivor Series match, then the match turns into something else, whether it's a 4-way match or a 3-way match or a 1-on-1 match, or if it's a sole survivor, they win the title. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like if Ambrose and Reigns are the only people left on their team, all of a sudden it's a 1-on-1 match for the title.
Right.
Like
they
that's the surviving element of it. You got to survive the match, and then you got to survive the match then within.
So your last two your last two survivors.
Well, that's how they announce it anyway. Sole survivors, even if it's 2 people on the team.
Right. But your last 2 survivors have to ultimately be the sole survivor of the night, and they take home the championship.
Yeah.
That would have been a fantastic way to book it. That puts a
it's
lot.
5 people left on the team.
Yeah. That'd be interesting.
It's a 5-way match. If it's 4 people, it's a 4-way match. You know what I mean? It's
right.
like there's a lot of variables to it. It's kind of building to like, okay, what is this next match going to be? Who's going to be left?
Yeah.
Oh my God, Reigns just got eliminated. It could put a lot into that. You could have done 10 qualifying matches throughout Raws and SmackDown leading it up to it.
Mm-hmm.
So like Reigns could have fought Bo Dallas. You could have put a lot. Ryback and Kalisto could have fought, and Ryback could have won to make it into there. So you could have had these matches where people had to actually prove themselves to make it in.
Yeah.
And if you didn't want, Ziggler could have fought Ambrose. You still could have had some matches, but then it's a different take on a tournament to just say, like, here's something we've never done before.
Well,
but it's going to actually weed out all the little guys, and whoever's left is going to be, the guy, our guy, the face of the WWE.
Well, and what's cool what's cool about that is, yes, there's a different take on it, but then it's also, it puts so much importance on the actual pay-per-view. Yes, you're going to have this, like you said, sort of vanilla tournament, and no matter how it ends, unless there's just something crazy, and but it's kind of like unless they do something crazy where there's one of the current title holders getting a second title, but they made such a big deal out of that with Rollins, can't see them doing it again anytime soon. Yeah.
First time ever, Ultimate Survivor. It's like there's a lot of stuff you could have thrown at.
Yeah, I mean, there's just that's pretty easy and an ingenious way to really make the Survivor Series match itself, like, not the main event, but something extremely interesting. And
hey, listen,
and I like
Ambrose
the idea.
Is turn.
What's that?
Why does he turn mid-match and take out his own teammates so that he doesn't have to face them later if he's a survivor? You know what I mean? It could be a lot of different ways. You don't have to. You can have the heel turn, like Big Show last year, punching out John Cena. Well, now Cena's not in the match, and Big Show doesn't have to eliminate himself. He can just stay there.
Yeah.
Kind of deal. Like,
or even someone like, two guys start fighting on the outside, and then they fight all the way into the back, and you forget it. They make a point to try to make sure you forget about them. They don't bring them back up, and then at the end of the match, it's like, but they were never eliminated. And it could be two guys that are on the same team. Side, two guys that are on the same team, and they just, something happens. One of them snaps, and they just fight their way out. They fight their way out of the arena, and you sort of Curtis Axel it, except it's actually part of the storyline. So you just stop talking about this guy.
It's McMahon and Austin from Royal Rumble.
Yeah, exactly.
2000 or whatever it was.
So you think they're eliminated?
I mean, you could have also done it until. Yeah, you could have also done it eliminated until there's four guys left, and then it becomes a four-way dance or whatever they call it, fatal four-way. Sure. Like, you could have done that too.
No, I still like the idea of it. I like the idea of it coming down to two.
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
that would be
not coming down to two. It could have been three. It could have been four. But it's like when one whole team is eliminated, that's when the dynamic of the match changes, depending on how many people are left.
Yeah. Okay.
If it's a sole survivor, hey, they're the winner.
Well,
they're the champion. But
an interesting, that, like, sort of merging the two ideas. I mean, you could really mess with people on this, and you could have two guys start fighting early on and fight their way out of the arena, and you just stop talking about them. And then you could have the last two visible people for each side. It actually come down to 1v1, and it could be a pretty big fan favorite or something like that. And you double count out them. And so and people are like, well, what do we do? And then the camera shows backstage, and there's the two guys still fighting. They're like, well, looks like our main event has started. Or something like that. So, I mean, that'd be an interesting way of doing it. So, or maybe that'd be
very Vince Russo like.
Well, I know what you could do, something like, Triple H comes out.
Oh no, listen, there are many possibilities to it. That's why I think it's a good idea, and I think I've had this idea for a long time with me.
But you could even have.
Why didn't they never do anything like this?
You could even have like Triple H come out and say, you know what? Since these guys want to fight backstage, the main event starts right now, and it's falls count anywhere. Get a ref with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you could do something. Cool. Make it sort of hardcore. So that's pretty awesome.
Absolutely.
So that's the main thing. Is there anything else you would have done differently leading up, or
no? That's basically it. Just turn the Bray Wyatt match into a Survivor Series match, and then they should have just had a Survivor Series match that decided who, having the ultimate survivor of that Survivor Series match, be the new champion, the new face of the WWE. Because you can't say he didn't deserve it. You know, it's not like he had to beat 4 people in a tournament. He had to beat another team and everyone else on his team at the same time, kind of thing.
Yeah. So let's move on to.
But I want to know that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I just want to know, like, in this pay-per-view, like, what are your bold predictions?
All right, so I'm gonna go crazy off the rails here, okay? And you may beat me because you're good at going way off the rails. Just
well, I'm asking
you've
you
seen
first,
it all.
and now I'll follow
yeah,
you. So
I know. So what if Taker, Brothers of Destruction versus Wyatt? What if that's not actually the main event, even though we consider, you would consider either that or the tournament final to be the big deal, the main event. How, especially since it seems like Taker's last ride, pun intended. But what if they announced that the Survivor Series match is actually the main event, and throughout the course of the show they're just kind of dropping some, they're not really giving you everyone. Maybe leaving a couple of slots blank or something like that, but they tell you it's going to be 5v5 or something like that. And then Daniel Bryan comes back. That would be pretty.
Okay.
That'd be pretty amazing. Or you could kick off the show that way. Talk about getting people, like, just blowing the roof off the building, right? I mean, people would just go nuts if you turn Survivor Series into, a yes chant fest again. Right, sort of like what they did with WrestleMania with him getting with the IC title match. You expected that to be really bland, but it ended in a pretty unique way, and then it ended with the strap on Daniel Bryan, and everybody was freaking out right from the beginning of the show. It was sort of, people had to live up to that for the rest of the show. So, I think that would be an amazing. It would be an amazing time for him to return. It would be, if he's healthy. We don't, for all we know, even if he's healthy, WWE may still not be clearing him unless he really changes his moveset or something like that, so that he's not taking as many risks. I just think that would be a really fun way to start off the show. Is, reversing what I originally said. Instead of it being a main event, a good not kickoff show, but a good start of the show with him being. Maybe you just sort of have a hodgepodge of guys, and then all of a sudden the last guy to come out for the face team is Daniel Bryan. I just think, and then they put on a great match. He goes over and he's back. I think it'd be pretty wild. So, what you got?
Well, I got a few, and what I'll say is, when I had Reigns beating Ambrose, and I said the swerve is going to be no face, no heel turn is the swerve. Maybe it makes Triple H cranky, and it leads to some sort of storyline where Triple H is trying to get the title from Reigns, kind of like when Daniel Bryan used to have it.
Right.
I'm gonna give you the classic swerve in this, just to give a bold prediction, and say that Roman Reigns is actually the one that's going to join the Authority during this match, and Ambrose is going to get screwed out of the title, making him the top baby face and stuff like that. Just to give that classic Russo-esque kind of swerve. It's the fans think they know, but they don't know, because we already saw Roman Reigns basically spit in the face of Triple H. But now we're going to make Reigns join the Authority anyway. He came to his senses. He knew what was up, whatever the case may be. But to go a little bit more bolder on that kind of prediction, the one thing I never asked you is, are you entertained?
Yeah, I avoided it. I didn't bring it up because I figured it would come up now.
And do you look stupid?
The Great White.
Oh, well, we'll save that. We'll save that for the weekly show.
Yeah.
How about this for a bold prediction? Sheamus and Wade Barrett both join the Authority, and I added Barrett into this because he kind of can be a top guy, but he's been very stale lately.
Well,
And
and he's still a great
if the
heel
match,
though. That's what's amazing is
right,
his matches have been stale, but he's a great heel always. He
if
plays the part
if
well.
Reigns and Ambrose goes the way I initially predicted, where there's no heel turn, it's face versus face, and they're still brothers and stuff like that. Um, what better way than Reigns win the title and for them to celebrate, and then the Red Rooster comes down to the ring, but now you need somebody to hold off Ambrose, so that's where Wade Barrett comes in.
Yeah.
Wade
And
Barrett takes out Ambrose. Sheamus takes out Reigns. Sheamus leaves as the champion with Triple H, all holding their hands up high on the top of the ramp.
and then
You know,
that gives Ambrose a program and
with
puts
Barrett,
with Barrett.
and Reigns now chases the championship. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean
and
that's
listen, it could last 2 months to Royal Rumble, and Royal Rumble Reigns finally wins it again and keeps it at Royal Rumble.
yeah. I mean
You know,
that's a great way for it to go. And it could even be that
listen, he
and this would be interesting. What if you let Barrett go over the feud in the feud with Ambrose and it becomes a triple threat? You know, because last year's triple threat was actually fantastic. You know, with Lesnar,
yeah.
Lesnar, Rollins, and Orton, and that was
It was really only 7 minutes, right?
yeah, but it was it was a match that everyone expected to be pretty boring, and it was possibly for a lot of people a match of the year candidate because the story
Yeah,
was
but it wasn't announced as
told
triple
that well.
threat.
Yeah.
It wasn't announced as a triple threat.
Okay. It still was a great
No, that's the
triple threat
difference.
match.
Right, but it wasn't a boring triple threat because there was no triple threat to it. It came like
It happened.
7 minutes
Fair
until
enough.
the end of the match. That's the difference there. Now
Wait,
here's
wait,
what
wait,
I'm
wait,
gonna
wait,
say
wait, wait,
just to
wait.
say
No, no,
it.
no, no,
Yeah,
no, no,
go
no.
ahead.
No, I'm talking about Royal Rumble. I'm not talking about WrestleMania.
Oh, okay. No, I thought you said WrestleMania.
Yeah, yeah, no, Royal Rumble. Maybe I did, but I meant the Royal
Oh,
Rumble
okay.
match with
Yeah,
Orton.
with Cena, Lesnar, Rollins.
Oh, was it? Yeah, it was Cena. I kept thinking it was Orton. But yeah, you're right. It was Cena. So yeah, but it was a really crazy good match, and everyone did
Yeah,
really good in it. And the story, like even the commentators were on point for that match and everything like that. So, I mean, that would be an interesting thing to do because then you've got the two heels and the baby face, and so it it's once again one of those things where it's pretty natural that the baby face wins, but doesn't necessarily have to. But it gets either way, it puts Sheamus in a really good place that he hasn't been in a long time. It can elevate Barrett, especially if maybe he wins the feud or the feud gets interrupted in some way, so that he can be part of a title picture for a little bit, even if he doesn't win. And then Reigns has to go through, whatever he has to go through again. And once again, he's, reached another. He's reached another plateau and watched an avalanche come down on him. See, it would be
right.
a plateau, not
I mean, it's
not
basically
a
the
summit.
Daniel Bryan story.
Yeah, it's similar.
Every time Daniel Bryan got to the top, the Authority ripped it away from him somehow. So, it makes sense to have Sheamus then win the title from him after he finally wins the title. And then, like, next time he gets a rematch, we're going to add somebody else into the match, kind of thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I
but
still
that's
think.
that. But now you want to hear me say something just to say it?
Sure, go ahead.
All right. We do this from time to time. I just say something that's so out there and just see if it sticks to the wall. And sometimes it actually happens in a
Okay.
way.
All right.
So that's why I always continue just to do stuff like this.
Sure.
You said this to me on Twitter. Like, it's not necessarily final that the Undertaker and Kane match does not become a Survivor Series match.
Right.
4-4. So let's look at a possible way that could happen. Now, Undertaker and Kane need two people on their team. So, how about any two of John Cena? One-time match. I don't care if he's on vacation. One match, he goes back on vacation or whatever the case may be. How about Daniel Bryan? You just said that before. Yep. What about Triple H? What's best for business? Respect of the Undertaker. Or a one-time match with Austin and The Rock, where they're really not doing anything. They just come in, they punch the people a couple times, get a pin, kind of deal.
Yeah,
Get disqualified, get counted out, whatever the thing is to be. Brock Lesnar showing up. I mean, even Big Show and Mark Henry have a history with Undertaker, so
Lesnar would
just to
freak
stick
people
those
out.
names on the wall.
Like Lesnar
Yeah,
would
I
really
mean,
freak people out. Well, and Lesnar had sort of the respect look back and got out of the ring type thing.
well, that's why I initially said, well, there's your build up to Survivor Series, because now Lesnar's on Team Undertaker because he respects the Undertaker after a
Right.
series of matches.
Yeah.
But then they never went further than Kane the next day, and I really thought they were going to pick off somebody week after week.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I hate the fact that they would bring back Lesnar or Daniel Bryan or anybody, The Rock, unannounced. I'm still in the mindset of, like, you've got to sell pay-per-views. You got to sell WWE subscriptions.
Yep.
Why would you bring somebody back during the match where you wanted people to buy it for? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
it's like, oh, great. From a fan perspective, The Rock showing up, I'll jump out of my seat.
right.
But then how was anybody else supposed to know that to really buy the pay-per-view kind of thing?
Right. And it makes you think that a lot of times this stuff that gets leaked, that WWE's totally okay with it because they possibly get a few more buy-ins because of it. That people are like, oh,
Undertaker's in the building. Well, okay, well, let's see why he's in the building. Let me pay $9.99 just to watch Survivor Series.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question though.
Okay.
What miserable city is this pay-per-view in?
I know. It's right down the street from me, and I've been asking for early Christmas presents to get to the thing and all this crap. I mean, it's right here in Atlanta. It's a 20-minute drive for me, and I am just so miserable that I'm not going to be there. I can't tell you how disgusted with myself I am. I'm going to start saving just $5 every time I get any sort of money for anything, a project, a job, normal job stuff. But I'm just going to start socking away like $5 at a time, $5 at a time. So the next time they show up in my town, I'm going, because this is now a Raw and Survivor Series. The freaking 25th anniversary of The Undertaker, and I'm missing it because I, A, didn't realize it was in my city, which that's not going to happen again either, or B, just didn't have the money set aside to do it. So, yeah. I can't tell you
that
how
was not my
disgusted I
intent,
am.
by the way. I didn't mean to
You didn't really know?
you.
Yeah.
No. I didn't really mean, that wasn't my intent by asking what miserable city it was in. What is Atlanta known for, by the way? Wrestling wise.
Wrestling. Oh yeah, WCW.
WCW.
Yeah.
So what if the two people that wind up being on Undertaker and Kane's team, Booker T,
okay,
DDP. I heard Sting's okay enough to wrestle.
Yeah.
Be it a one match, and it's a protected match. It's a Survivor Series match, so he doesn't have to go 35 minutes by himself.
Yeah.
Sting is a good one. The greatest WCW champion of all time, David Arquette, is another one.
No way.
So, I mean, Big Papa Pump, Scott Steiner.
That's Russo.
He's your hookup. Holler if you hear him. Jeff Jarrett broke 1 million guitars, never sold a dime.
Yeah, that's not happening.
I'm joking on Jeff Jarrett and Steiner and stuff. But hey, listen, Booker T could, they have that WCW home base in Atlanta, and everyone respects the Undertaker, so it's not far out of the realm, even though it doesn't make sense storyline wise.
Yeah.
For Sting and Booker T to join up with them, and WCW's so far gone, it may not even matter anymore.
Yeah, but DDP.
But still.
DDP, I mean, he got a massive pop at the Royal Rumble. People are like, holy
oh, they'll all get pops.
Crap.
Listen, I believe if Buff Bagwell's music hit, people would jump out of the seat. That goes back to my theory about everything being revolved around the Attitude Era.
Right, fair enough.
Even in WCW.
Right.
Whenever these guys come back, I think people would. I think La Parka and Psychosis being two mystery men for Undertaker, I think people would have a huge crowd reaction for.
People
on the internet might be a little bit mad, but
actually, what the funniest thing in the world would be on that note, have it be La Parka, and then somewhere in the match he starts doing the yes kicks, and then takes his mask off, and everybody's like, "What?"
That's my
It's freaking Daniel Bryan.
that's my favorite part of wrestling when I was watching like cruiserweights come out in WCW, and I'm like, hey, wait a second. I think Damien 666 is Ciclope. That's Dean Malenko under the mask. And then Ciclope wins, takes off the mask. It's Dean Malenko. I'm like, yes, I am the greatest wrestling fan of all time.
Yeah. Or two of the
Yeah,
druids actually come to the ring, and it's J&J Security because they were all about the height of
they were
J&J
actually
Security.
no, they were local guys. It
Yeah.
was announced.
Oh, okay. Oh, I bet they
Yeah,
love
that was
that.
announced. They were local indie guys.
I bet they love
They almost
that.
always use local indie guys instead of like Zack Ryder. You know, I don't know why they do that.
Yeah. Well, back in the day, let's see, Punk was a druid. Ambrose was a druid. They were both druids at one point.
Yeah,
So,
but they weren't WWE guys yet. They were like on that cusp of just joining the roster.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
They
Well,
always use like independent people.
so that variable predictions, and I'm pretty pretty cool with those. And yeah, I don't have much to add besides we're getting the weekly show cranked up and running, and should be recording our first episode back of that this Thursday, so 2 days from now. Well, not technically, but because we're running this long again. But besides that, where can people find you social wise and stuff like that, Larry?
Oh yeah. I am on Twitter at Larry is angry. And I also play some games on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Angry Larry.
Perfect. And I am, when I stream, which has not been very often, but I'm working on getting back into it. On Twitch, I am twitch.tv/The Duke. And pretty much anywhere else you want to find me, YouTube, if I stream on Hitbox or wherever, Twitter, I'm Duke Zors. So that's DUKEZORS, and I'm spelling something that I will put on the screen later. So that's kind of goofy. But anyway, been a fun show, and so that's where we speculate things will go, and some other possibilities to absolutely outlandish things. An entire team of hornswoggles would be my other prediction for the Survivor Series match. I think that would be a legit way to do it for real. Not really, but yeah. So that's where we are, and we hope you follow the show. Hit the like button if you like it. Give us some comments and subscribe for more awesome wrestling content. And you'll see our faces eventually, but we're working on some things for that. So see you next time. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Later.